With Christmas coming up, I just wanted to go over a list of 11 different tools that I think are reasonably priced. Some of them are more like accessories that either you may want to buy for yourself or ask for Christmas, or if you have a spouse, partner, husband, boyfriend, wife, etc., who's into woodworking, these are some things that they may not buy for themselves that they would be very, very happy to open up in a Christmas present. The first one I want to go over is the 6-inch Incra T-Rule and the accompanying Zebra M301 pencil. Now this Incra T-Rule essentially has little circles cut out at everything from 16ths all the way to 1/64. And you need a 0.05 millimeter pencil. I highly suggest this one. I love these. And you can put it in every hole. Now what that allows you to do is take a piece of wood, and this is especially good for long measurements, to just drag it along. As long as your edge is straight, you will have that line marked out exactly. You can just go to the next piece of wood and do the exact same thing. And it's incredibly effective at transferring marks that are long. Combo squares are perfectly fine for short things, but one problem is if you're going over something long and this isn't clamped down, it can be hard to sort of hold them and move at the same time. With this, it's much easier to hold and move as you go along on a long stretch of marking. Now, Incra sells these T-rules in anywhere from 3 to 12 inches. I really like the 6-inch one. Most of the work pieces I work with are not long enough that I need the 12. The 6-inch itself is $25, and the pencil I use, and you can use any 0.05 millimeter lead pencil. It cannot be larger than that to fit through these holes. 2-pack for $4 of these, and I will put a link to everything in the description below. And this is essentially just assembled on T-tracks. So if you wanted, you can take this off of here and use it as a ruler as well if you are in the middle of a piece and don't need the edge. Just some bolts sliding in there and it's good to go. Now, the only downside to this, and it's never bothered me, but I saw some people on reviews that it bothered, is this is very thin. It is not a stiff, heavy piece of metal. It's just an aluminum. It's got a little wave to it. Now, I don't find that to be an issue at all because you're placing it on top of something hard. But if that's a concern for you, this may not be the perfect tool, but I would definitely consider it at that price for extremely accurate marking. You do not have to worry about sitting on a certain side of the line. You simply place the pencil lead through the line and you are exactly at the mark. Now, while we're on marking, I want to talk about one of the greatest value combo squares out there. These are made by a company called PEC, and you can find them at Tay Tools and on eBay, etc. But the secret here is they sell blemished ones. They just call them blems, and that means there is some visual problem. This one has, not a great rounding over of an edge, and they're at a significant price decrease. So if you are okay with not having a perfectly visual looking square, maybe some paint is not done right, anything like that, but they do guarantee full accuracy. So you are getting a perfectly functional square. Now, the 6-inch combo is very hard to find on its own. So what I ended up doing, and I just checked and these are available, is I bought the 4-inch combo, which came out to $29, and normally these are like 40 something, and then a 6-inch rule, which is available for $13. So I got both of these for less than the price of a single 6-inch, and I really like this guy for very short measurements. It's great in the pocket, and these are very thick. This is probably just shy of 1/8 of an inch. They are incredibly nice rulers, and the combo square itself is great, moves freely. And I think this is a great way to get an extremely high quality tool at a value price. PEC blemish squares, link will be in the description. The availability is the only problem. They go fast, which is why I had to do the combo of buying the rule separately and then buying the 4-inch square, because the 6-inch combo on its own is really highly sought after. All right, next on our list are fish drill bits. Now, you may have heard this name before because Stumpy Nubs does a lot of advertising for them. And I had gotten the drill press recently, just a Wen 12-inch. It's fine. It's great, actually. I love it for the price. And I needed some brad points, so I bought a set of DeWalt brad points. I believe the entire set of 6 was $14, $15. Seemed like a great deal. Well, not long into using them, I needed to drill a pretty precise hole. And sure enough, this bit is not that accurate. It has a little wobble in it, a little twist, and the brad point itself is quite wide. It doesn't find the hole perfectly. Now, for most uses, totally fine. However, I needed exactly a 1/4 inch, and I thought back to those videos, and I said, you know what? I'm going to try fish drill bits. The increase in quality and accuracy is unbelievable. It was night and day. This is an incredible drill bit. These are both 1/4 inch, and you can see the difference in thickness. This just weighs probably twice as much as this one, and it cuts so much smoother, so little tear out. It does not get hot as long as you're drilling at the right RPMs, and you can buy them individually. The 1/4 inch itself was $5. Now remember, this drill bit on the DeWalt is going to come out to maybe $1 or so for the bit and the kit. So you're paying 5 times as much. But if you find yourself using specific drill bits a lot, go ahead and replace them one at a time. You can get the individuals on Amazon, and they also sell a set of 29. I believe it's every size going by 30 seconds for $75. Now that's a lot, personally, I think, and maybe one day I'll get that. But I really like the ability to buy individually, and I cannot speak highly enough of these fish drill bits. If you buy them individually, they come in a nice little tube to help protect them, and they're absolutely wonderful. While we're on the topic of drilling, I want to talk about this little guy. This is a plug cutter, and essentially what it's used for is cutting out a small plug from the top of a piece of wood, and then you can use it to either plug a screw hole, or in my case, why I bought this was because if you drill in the wrong place, if you put a normal dowel in the hole, the end grain will be up, and it's usually significantly different in darkness of color when you get it, the finish on it. So if you want a way to match with the face grain on the face grain of something else, you need to cut a plug, and that's exactly what this does. It cuts out little 1/4 inch plugs that you then can place in the hole to cover it up. It works incredibly well. You have to be a little picky with your grain and, decide exactly where you want it. And this is also cuts a tapered plug, meaning that if your drill bit is a fish, which is exactly a 1/4 inch, and you cut an exactly 1/4 inch plug, if you were to try to hit them in there together, it's not going to work. But because this puts a slight taper on it, you can get it into the hole and then mallet it down until it's a perfect fit. These work incredibly well. The plug for the 1/4 inch cost about $9, and I believe they go all the way up to 3/4, which is about $25. If you were doing a lot of screwing, doweling, anything external, and you were worried you may make a hole in the wrong place, consider getting one of these plug cutters as a way to ensure that you can plug up any hole with matching face grain and save yourself the hassle of having to stare at that little dowel mistake because you can see the end grain. The next on the list are the 4-pack of Bessie clamps. Now, I've only ever been able to find this at Home Depot, and it's $25 total for 2 6-inches and 2 12-inches. If you were to go buy these individually on Amazon, you would surpass that price fairly quickly. Everybody knows in the woodworking world that Bessie are incredibly high quality clamps. These are just simple F clamps, but they're some of the most useful ones out there. And the ability to get them in the 4-pack from Home Depot for only $25 is just astonishing. Now, you can order it online if you don't have a Home Depot close to you. But if you're thinking about your woodworking spouse, husband, partner, etc., and you want to get them something that they'll actually use, get them the 4-pack of clamps from Home Depot. Now, this may seem like a little bit of an odd one, but I'm somebody who's really diligent about cleaning my tools. And a lot of power tools have areas that you need to grease. Well, eventually dust builds up in there and you need to get the grease out. Now, often it's very hard. It's in a tight space. It's inside of some grooves. And I find these little brushes, there's a nylon, brass, and not sure what this one is. So they're varying levels of hardness depending upon the material. Put a little mineral spirits on them and you can pull the grease right out. I found these so incredibly helpful when cleaning out and re-greasing my bandsaw and my table saw. Now, there's a set of 6 on Amazon for only $12. These will last you forever. And they're a great little tool to help you clean your tools better, especially in hard to reach areas that you can't get a paper towel into. And it's much easier than sitting there trying to scrape something out. Up next, we have the Suizan or Susan, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, 7-inch Ryoba saw. Now, these are often on sale on Amazon Prime Day, but they cost about $28, $29 if it's not on sale. I got this one for about $25 the last Prime Day sale. Now, it's a 7-inch. A lot of people buy the 9 or the 8, but I bought this specifically to cut dowels. I work with dowels a lot, and if you try to cut small pieces, which I work with on a table saw, they will go flying. You have to have safety glasses on at all times. So I built myself a little bench hook, and I can come in here, set a stop block, and just saw off the dowel with a really clean, simple finish. And just like that, I can just do dozens and dozens of these dowels through here. This is also incredibly good for breaking down lumber. I got rid of my miter saw because I realized all I was using it for was just breaking down lumber, and these cut right through. They have a fully replaceable blade so that when it gets dull, if you don't want to buy an entire new one, you can just take the blade out and replace it. These also will need to be cleaned occasionally if you cut a lot of pine. It's probably not dull. There's probably just a good chance it's really gunked up. So remember that. This is not a flush cut saw either, not a flush trim saw. There's rip blades and crosscut blades, and they are offset. If you try to flush cut with this, you will leave saw marks. They also sell a flush trim saw if that is more what you're looking for. I have never found the need to have anything over 7 inches, but they do make a 9-inch, and they also make a dovetail saw with a rigid back on it if that is more your style. Great company, great price, and definitely check on Amazon Prime Day because they often are on sale on there. It's very curious. Now, the next item on the list is something I don't personally own, but something I used the other day, and I found it incredible, possibly even borderline revolutionary for hand planes. This little knob down here can get a little hard to twist, especially as you get older. There's another YouTuber named Rob Cosman, and he came up, or somebody who works for him came up, with what he calls the adjust star, and it replaces the little knob with a 5-pointed star knob that's bigger and easier to turn. So if someone in your life is getting a little older and they're a woodworker and possibly their hands aren't as strong as they used to be, so don't tell them that, consider getting the Adjust Star. It's about $30 and they make it for different vintage and modern planes. So make sure you find out if you're buying it for a spouse, what kind of plane they have, and ideally roughly a year, which there are websites online where you can find any type of plane. But it's a really, really handy little change, and I fully plan to get myself one probably for Christmas, to be honest. On our list next, we have Whiteside router bits. Now, this is a company you've probably heard other people talk about, but I think they really live up to the hype. Most people, when they first get a router, buy one of these yellow bit sets from Amazon under a million different names. There are often brands like Freud at Home Depot and other shop centers, but on Amazon and online on their website, you can find Whiteside bits. Now, they are a little more expensive, so instead of buying an entire set of Whiteside, what I suggest you do is if you're brand new to getting a router, go ahead and buy one of these yellow bit sets, and in whichever ones you use the most, replace them over time with individual Whiteside bits. That way you're only looking between 30 and, well, depending upon how big the bit is, they can get a little more expensive than that. But about $25, $30 for a 1/4-inch spiral. And I've tried the Freud Diablos. They're fine. They're better than the yellow bits, but I don't think they come close to the Whiteside bits. So consider these an upgrade that you can buy one at a time if you're using your router a lot, but you're not using all of the bits that much. If you're shopping for a partner, spouse, go in, sneak into their router bit kit, and look for whatever ones look dirty. That probably means they use that one the most. And then go online and find the identical one made by Whiteside. They last longer, they're sharper, and most importantly to me, they are far more accurate and consistent in their dimensions. I use a lot of box joints, and when I make a box joint jig, I want the router bit I use to be the same size every time. With Whiteside bits, I've never had a problem of a slightly different diameter at all, so I don't have to go through a million times and make a different jig. Now, when they get dull, and I have another video about this, I've created an adjustable router box joint jig set because they do very infinitesimally shrink over time as it gets duller. But when they're brand new, they're all the identical size, which I just think is amazing. Now, if you want to spend a lot of money on a router bit, there's a company called Bits, I think, that again, you'll probably have heard people talk about, who essentially take white side bits and put a coating on them that, in theory at least, I've never used them personally, makes them last a lot longer. But those are quite expensive. So I suggest first stepping up into a white side bit, and I definitely prefer them even to Diablo bits. I think they are better. Now, sometimes when you're in the shop, you go through things that we just call consumables, and we often don't think of them as things we really want to buy because they seem like they're not tools, right? And I go through a lot of shop towels. Whenever I'm doing finishing, especially with oil, you need to wipe the oil off. And the best value I've found, these are at Home Depot, though they are sold online as well, are these blue shop towels. It's $13 for a pack of 6, and I will continue using these until the day I die or they go out of business because they are amazingly absorbent. They do not tear apart unless you intentionally try to. They will not rip apart when they're wet. So if you've got a partner, spouse, etc., who you find some shop towels in their shop, but they are getting low on the number, consider getting some of these if they haven't already bought these. Now I saved this one for last because it's a little more expensive than any of the others. This is the Freud Glue Line Rip Blade. Now it's a 30-tooth blade, and it is intended for ripping edges that you intend to glue together. It is essentially an attempt that works extremely well at making a jointer out of your table saw. It works great for other rips as well, but it's a specialty blade, and it's not something that most people would buy on their own unless they're going to be doing a lot of panel glue ups and don't have a jointer. But it's a really nice gift because it is something that someone wouldn't necessarily buy for themselves, but has an incredibly effective specialty purpose. Now they sell a thin kerf version for $55 and then the full kerf for $73. If I get another one of these eventually, I'm just going to buy the thin kerf. This is the full kerf. It's great, but I have another of Freud's thin kerf blades and it works wonders and it's cheaper. So if you're looking to spend a little more, and your husband, partner, spouse, etc. uses a table saw, and they just have a 60-tooth and a 24-tooth blade, the basics, consider grabbing them this because they will really enjoy just how good this is. Now, if they have a jointer, don't bother buying them this. And you'll have to look up what a jointer is if you're trying to figure that out. I don't have one, so I can't really show you. Sorry about that. And that is the end of our Christmas gift list. If you have any good ideas, throw them in the comments because I also need to come up with some Christmas gift ideas to buy. Thanks for watching.